This is for AQA Psychology, and this is the Year 2 topic of gender. We're looking in this video at cognitive explanations of gender development, and in particular Kohlberg's theory. And this theory is a cognitive developmental theory. Now what that means is it looks basically at how we develop over time as a result of both our biological development and the way we interact with the environment. So it looks at our biological development, the way that our brain develops at the same time we're interacting with our environment, and both of those things then affect our cognitions, i.e. our thought processes and the way those thought processes are developing. So it's a gradual thing over time. And this particular theory obviously is looking at gender and how our understanding of gender over time changes as a result of our brains becoming more mature and our interactions with the environment, the things we observe, the things we try out with the environment that are related to gender. So we go through different stages of understanding of gender at different ages, and this is an active process. That's how it contrasts with several other theories. We're not simply observing in our environment and then copying. It's actually we're interacting with the environment, so it's an active process. Right, stage 1 of Kohlberg's developmental theory. This is the first stage, and it's 18 months to 3 years. This is where we have we can identify gender, so we can say if we're a boy or a girl, and we can say if someone else is a boy or a girl, but it's really based on things like the length of someone's hair or the clothes, if they're wearing certain clothes, a dress or whatever. So it's a very basic understanding of gender based on really superficial characteristics. Stage 2 is gender stability, and in this stage the way we develop is we develop an understanding that gender is stable over time. So children could say if they will grow up to be a mummy or a daddy. If you ask a girl, they'll be able to say that they'll grow up to be a mummy. So they understand that gender is stable over time, but they don't necessarily understand that across lots of different situations. So if there's a man with long hair, they might still identify them as a woman. It's still based on quite superficial characteristics. So they understand that it's stable over time, but they might think that it can, if their dad was to put on a dress, they might then say that they're a woman. So it doesn't necessarily make, it's not constant across different situations. And the last stage, gender constancy, is where they understand that across different times and different situations, gender is stable. So they understand it's constant and it's permanent. It's not affected by changes in appearance or activity. If a man were to put on a dress, they would still understand that that's a man and not a woman. So it's this idea of constancy. They know that it's not going to change across time and across different situations. And then just a few important things to understand based on that. Once they get to gender constancy, it's, according to Kohlberg, it's at that point that they become interested in gender appropriate behaviours and learning them and trying them out. So it's they will observe and imitate same-sex models because they're then motivated, because they know that their gender is not going to change, is the idea. They value the behaviours and attitudes that are associated with their gender because they know that it's not going to change at any point in the future. So that's an important point that you need to understand when it comes to evaluation. It's only once gender constancy has been reached that children will start learning gender appropriate behaviours, according to Kohlberg. And in your booklet it refers to self-socialisation, and that's just the process where we actively influence our own social development and outcomes. So that just means in this particular situation, once children have learnt that gender is constant, they then actively influence their social development and outcomes by choosing gender appropriate toys, by choosing to learn particular gender appropriate behaviours, to choose to do certain activities. They're actively influencing the development of their own gender, their social development, their social outcomes, and that's what self-socialisation means. And we'll look in a second video at the evaluation for this theory.